Okay. Would you like to repeat that? The recording.
I'd like to call the first meeting of the Decennial Committee for the Niles Main District Library to order at 7:01 p.m. on June 6th. It's possible to lose your page before you get started.
Things happen. What can I
Roll
tell you?
call. Who's the? Patty is.
Patty, you have to do roll call.
I'm doing roll call?
Yes,
That's what secretaries
Secretary.
do.
I understand that, Precious, but I thought this was a regular meeting. I
It's
didn't.
a committee meeting, it's not an executive session, if you want me to do the notes and.
Well, I don't know. You tell me. What am I acting like this is an executive session?
Or a regular
No,
meeting.
It's an open meeting.
It's an open.
Yeah, it's an open meeting and you have to follow.
Okay, roll call.
Okay, so I'll do the roll call.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I do not know, everyone's name, but we'll start with trustee Kadir.
He is still
He's absent.
recovering.
His notice. Trustee Derblick,
Here.
trustee Schoenfeld,
Here.
treasurer Portillo,
Present.
secretary Rosansky.
Here.
Vice president Trumpo.
Here.
President Keen.
Here.
And then we have residents,
Scotty O'Brien.
Scotty O'Brien, thank you.
Dave Sheeler.
Judy Elsinger.
Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is public comment. I don't think there's anyone for public comment, but Cindy, will you look outside or?
That is not.
Right, that's
Since
nice.
this isn't a closed session, should we leave the door closed?
It does say come in, but
Okay.
the sound bleeding,
Okay, that's fine. I'm just asking.
yeah. I guess there's no one out there, so we could open it.
Well, no, I don't care.
Okay.
I just, asked.
All right. I'd like to welcome our guests and our new committee members, Judy and Dave and Scotty. Thank you for joining us to our first meeting of the Decennial Committee that we are having just in the nick of time before June 10th. So Scotty, you are bringing some experience with this a little bit, at least, and you guys are going to be doing it soon, I understand, so that will be helpful to us. I think Cindy passed out to the three of you the documents that we have, supporting documents that kind of explain what this is about. So what it really is that Governor Pritzker signed the Decennial Committee on Local Government Efficiency Act on June 10th last year into law. And so this law requires all Illinois local governments that impose a tax to convene a committee to study and report on local government efficiency. And so that is what we are doing. You guys can read that more at length on your own time when you have time. Basically, we have the board members are part of the committee, the director is part of the committee, and then at least 2 community members or more. So that's what we have here tonight. And we have 18 months from now to finish and submit a report. And we have to have at least 3 meetings. This is the first of those 3. So what I thought we could do tonight is look through there is a template that I got from Rails that was provided by Ansel Blink, legal library attorney. So if we could just look through that together and maybe talk about kind of assigning pieces of it to each of us, and then we can choose some meeting dates and then reconvene with compiled information and then start working on a report. Unless someone else wants to give ideas, I'm happy to hear ideas.
When would you schedule the second and third meeting?
we can schedule that together, we can talk about that.
Today.
Yes, I think we
Okay,
should
all right,
schedule it
I just
today.
wanted to make sure that we would know. Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
great.
Okay. So, it just starts on this page, mine is page 6, I don't know if you guys have the same page numbers? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking, it looks like.
Yeah,
this.
so this is what the sample template looks like. We don't have to keep this exactly, but I think since this is the first time that we're doing it, I think it's kind of nice to have this and just kind of follow along. We can always add something into it if we want. But so one is just kind of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3 are very simple information. It's kind of just filling in information about our library and who's on the committee. So I was thinking maybe, Cindy, you could take care of that because that's pretty,
Sure.
or I could do that as well.
Yeah, I got it.
So do you guys want do you want a couple minutes to look through this, or are you, because the
I've
three of you
already
haven't
looked
really
at it.
looked.
They
Okay.
haven't.
All right, why don't we just take a couple minutes then to see what's in here, and then if anything jumps out at you that you feel like you might want to work on, speak up.
So one of the questions I was wondering when I heard about this is what intergovernmental agreements does the library have? Any? I mean,
Right, and I don't know the answer to that, so whoever feels like they want to jump on that one would probably work with staff, either Cindy or someone that Cindy would designate to help us get that information.
I mean, which ones we have, or the idea of creating them?
Well, whatever it says, let's see.
I was just wondering
We
what
don't
are
have
some
any inter-
examples that exist that we actually have?
One that did exist was the 25-year parking lot at Culver.
Mhm, right.
I think we finally disbanded that because for years we weren't using it. There were some issues. Staff were concerned about crossing the street. Traffic's heavy or dangerous. So since we weren't using it, we did, or actually, Culver actually contacted us and rescinded it because we weren't using it and they were getting ready for their renovations.
Right.
But that is one, that was the only one I'm aware of that we've ever had.
Yeah, I don't believe that we have one. There's not many out there right now. I know
Mhm.
Scotty just completed one with the village, with the parks and the village just did one.
Right.
But I don't believe that we've had any other ones yet at the library.
I don't think so. We've talked about doing stuff with the park district and stuff, we just never came up with anything.
So this could be a good opportunity not only to see what we do or don't have, but then to think about what could we do in the future.
What's the difference between an intergovernmental agreement and a partnership?
I would think that,
Scotty? Oh,
The IGA needs to be executed between both boards. It's an actual official legal document that everybody agrees upon, and there's terms and conditions and limitations and all the fancy legal stuff. A partnership would be simply, could be a handshake deal, could be something you're working on continuously with another entity, but it's not actually
contract.
agreed upon yet.
Okay.
So technically, it's to our benefit probably to have a partnership versus,
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Right,
Yeah,
I agree.
like the one that we just did, it needed to be on paper because there was a
Yes.
transaction. You know, we were exchanging property for
Property.
maintenance,
okay.
and that can't be done with it.
No, that has to be, I agree. But if, for example, we decide to do something with the park district, I don't think we would be exchanging properties or anything. We only have this building. So I don't know, unless it was some huge thing that we would really need that.
Yeah, I agree. To Becky's point, I mean, I think the end result of this is supposed to be new, fresh ideas, ways to improve on what's existing. I have looked through this in depth. I've been looking at others because, as you know, I'm going to have to go through this too. This is probably the best example I've seen so far of a sample report.
that's good to
So,
hear.
yeah, some of them are really, this is really comprehensive, I think.
Thank you.
If we could add some things to it, great. I might even consider just adopting this on our end.
Yeah,
Yes, from
Except
Ansel Glink. We can forward
Replace
the email
library
to him.
with park,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
well, and they were kind enough to let it be shared throughout the library community, so that was very generous of them too, so.
So looking at page 9,
Mhm.
a lot of these things we do already, right? Like we policy on public comment, we have a policy for that.
Right.
Whether, as we go through, we may have to tweak things and stuff like that, but that's again in our bylaws. So we already take care of that. The schedule already, regular meetings, we're gonna be doing that at the next board meeting.
Mhm.
So there's some of this stuff that's gonna take care of themselves automatically.
Right.
There's other things like putting somebody in charge of FOIA again and not using lawyers for that. We definitely need some sort of OMA officer and the OMA training. I know I have to go through that still. I'm sure Roberto probably still does as well within our first 70 days here. So
Right.
I don't know, I don't even know where we start with all that stuff.
I think you can do that online,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
I think Cindy can help you
Cindy
with that.
usually
Right.
notifies you.
Okay.
So I mean, you might be able to just do it at your own leisure.
Got it.
So before we jump to 9, do we just want to go through 7 and 8? I mean, we didn't actually cover those.
Yeah, that's fine.
Paragraph.
I was looking through and that's
Okay.
why I really had a question. That's the only question I really had.
So we have core programs or services offered by our library. Isn't that standard? Could that information be easily gathered by, or is it located on the library site somewhere? I mean, it doesn't look like it would take an interaction between. It's not a discussion. It's
Right.
Not,
So I think what my suggestion is that each of us picks, 1 or 2 of these items, and then we go back and do the research on our own or with staff or on the website or however you prefer to do it. And then the next time we come back together, we have all that information that we have individually compiled, and then we can talk about it and figure out how to put it in a report.
Okay.
So that the work is divvied up between us. It makes, what is it, many hands make light work, something like that?
That's
Cindy?
true.
So I had asked the supervisors at our meeting a week ago to research the intergovernmental agreements, because although we don't have formal ones, we do have an agreement with some of the schools to share databases and things like that. So they are already looking into what kind of intergovernmental
Would that
agreements we
have
might have.
also to do with like the outreach programs we have and stuff? Is that what you're, or?
You mean going to the facilities?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're saying intergovernment, well, technically they're not government.
Yeah.
No, that would be more of a community partnership.
There would
Go
be
into, like,
community
nursing homes and
partnerships
things like that. Yep.
With the outreach. Well, we have outreach for schools, outreach for
Yeah.
senior facilities.
So that would be like.
It's probably more like an agreement, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's more of a community partnership.
Community partnership.
Yeah, they're not government agencies.
Okay,
so.
that shouldn't be that hard to collect that information.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Cindy,
Bring
what
back
about the,
information on that if you want.
The Illinois Presents, is it intergovernmental?
That would be an intergovernmental agreement, yes, because it's a contract, has to go before both boards.
Right.
Okay.
So that's something that they want to do for the fall.
And the core programs and libraries and services, that's easy enough to find. Awards and recognition, we skipped number 5.
Mhm.
I mean, that's all over the Star Library for countless years and things like that.
Yeah.
So is somebody handling these? Who's handling 4? Who's handling 5?
Let's
we
go
decided?
through the list, and then if somebody has a specific one they want to handle, maybe then we divvy them up.
Right, if you
We were
feel that there's
just-
Oh,
something
so we're
you're
gonna go
interested
through all
in.
of them and then
Yeah,
decide?
well,
Okay,
we're
go ahead.
gonna go through everything first, isn't that what
Yeah,
Becky
I think
said?
so. Or if you see something that jumps up at you and you want to volunteer for it, that's fine too. You don't have to wait to the end if you don't want to. So we are on page 10, it looks like.
No, yeah,
No,
well,
are we?
or
no?
9.
Am I going, skipping 9?
Yeah, but see, a lot of this stuff is already covered on the previous pages.
Most of it.
A lot of it. I didn't say all of it.
This is what Jason was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's a checklist for
Right.
basically
Yeah.
the rest of it.
And then 10 is what?
what have we done well, what inefficiencies did we identify, or what are our next steps, what can we do better or more efficiently. It almost seems like maybe we have to get the first pages of information before we could answer those questions, I think, right?
Actually, I'm thinking the same thing, like, we pick apart 7 and 8, because those have the topics, is what you're saying? Because,
Right, how can we answer what have we done well or not if we don't know what we've been doing first, right?
exactly.
Well, I think maybe a good strategy here, as much as we'd like to, piece it off, it may not be beneficial to do that just
Okay.
yet until we have a meeting with some of this information, so everybody can talk about it first, where Dave, Judy, and Scotty feel a little bit more comfortable with the information versus them walking into a situation where they really don't know a lot, maybe not know as much as others in the room, and we could all, like, a collaborative effort at the next meeting, and then maybe divvy it up. That also, Trustee Cordier should be back, and that should be, helpful as well.
Or, for something completely different, we could pair up with somebody, one of our residents, and take a topic, at least, because where's this information gonna come from if we don't start to gather some of it? I'm
But you
not
go through the
being
employees
critical
and
of
get
you,
that
my buddy,
almost.
That's fine.
but I think
Employees,
in order
you can
to
go through
discuss
some of that
information, we need to
information.
have information.
They could, but then we have to get it from them,
So,
so we have to work with them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work with the staff a little bit to gather some of the information. And even if we don't get all of the information before our next meeting, if at least we have some, it gives us something to jump off from.
Jason, what did you have in mind, Len, if we don't start, or explain your idea to me again, I guess?
So, Cindy's got some information being gathered with the IGA and stuff like that. Basic stuff of what our library offers and some of the services and programs we offer. If we start putting things together, just even jotting it down, whether it's we all go home and we just look on the computer and find things out, and I think it gives us a better understanding if we all do a little of it all, so that way everybody has a better understanding and more in-depth grasp of what we're looking for here at the library and what we actually have done at the library versus maybe only knowing a small amount. So I think it's never a bad thing to do that, and then everybody gets to touch a little bit. You section it off. Well, let's say Scotty takes the intergovernmental agreements because he's used to doing that, but he doesn't do any of the other parts. So now he'll read about it, but he won't know about it, type of thing. It's like when you do, like Patty said, you do a report with multiple people. Sometimes you don't get the full effect of knowing the whole thing, even if you do read it at the end. So that's just my. And it also allows team building between the board and the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Comment, Dave?
Well, I was just wondering if it's possible, and maybe Cindy can answer this, if there's like a collaborative tool, that we could use, maybe like, Google workbooks or something like that, and basically put this template on there.
Google Docs.
All of us, Google Docs or something like that, all of us just
A shared
put,
drive.
put some
I
stuff
agree.
in here.
Yeah.
The people that have the, information and can go through the list, we have this, just throw it in there, and then we can comment among ourselves about, hey, I can take this further or something, along those lines. I'm just thinking that might be.
Then everyone would be able to view the same information
Yeah.
whenever, at your leisure.
Yeah, your leisure when you have time to do
And
it.
staff-
And it would be real time, so we could, doing this in 3 meetings, I'm thinking that's the target,
Yeah.
Gonna be kind of tough to,
Yeah, and then we could also have staff involved.
So staff could input in those
Absolutely.
documents
That would
as
be great.
well. And I mean, the 3 meetings is the minimum that we
That's the
have to
minimum.
have.
Understand.
We can have,
We have 18 months also, so.
we could have
This
18
is a
meetings.
better way, this is a better way
kidding.
to obtain the information. It'd be
It's-
quicker, yeah.
So I would offer that the core services, sources of where to get what library core services should be would be the Illinois Libraries Servicing Our Public 4.0, which is a document that we could put online so you could all see it. And then maybe researching some of these statutes that are listed here, so you know what the ideal is. So then, once we gather the information about what the library's currently doing, it'll be easy to compare, because you'll have done some research on what the statute is expecting, you know. So that might be one thing you could start with while I try to gather as much information from the staff as possible to bring back to you. And I have talked with Rich about possibly getting a site where everybody could communicate, possibly, well, for the board it was going to be SharePoint because you all have the emails from the library, but perhaps a Google Doc would be better for those residents that don't have a library email. But I'm sort of working with Rich on that to figure out a way to communicate.
How hard would it be to give three residents library emails considering that they're on a committee?
Well,
I
I
can
don't,
ask him that again.
the thing is, it would be a good kicking off point to have their names and emails. So then when Rich says, hey, this would be probably easier or better for everybody, at least he has their emails.
Oh, their current emails.
Yes.
That would be helpful, yeah.
There's one other thing I noticed on this list. It asks for policy on public comment, and then it asks for sexual harassment prevention training. So that's delving into, again, more reports that the library has.
Right,
Yeah.
and we do that, we have a sexual harassment prevention training, that's a state law, so we do that every
Yeah,
year.
Right,
I
so
was
would
gonna
you
say.
provide that information? I mean, because I don't
As
think
far
we
as
need,
our compliance with that,
Or
yes.
Cassandra,
pardon me?
or Cassandra, the HR manager,
Mhm.
she should be handling that.
Well, what I'm saying is, rather than have the policy then added to the share drive, since there are just two different items, one's a policy, the other one's prevention training, which I do know you have, but can maybe somebody, like maybe in your capacity, just add that to the information we'll be looking at, rather than give us things to go through, since it's specific,
Right. So
you know?
I mean, as,
Instead of
Right,
putting the
yes,
whole
yes.
policy on there for all of us to go through, we only need a policy on public comment. So maybe that can just be added to the
Well, we
list of
have a-
information.
These are all,
I'm not
a lot of
sure
this is
about
policy.
that.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure if I
Yes,
understand what
I
you're saying,
understand
Carolyn.
what she's saying pertaining
So
to
just
the
like a
sexual
doc?
harassment.
Well, this is
It
only,
says sexual harassment prevention training. So basically, do we have training? Yes. Has everybody applied or gone through it? Yes. You know, you can
check that one off.
check that one off easily. That's the information you and our HR person would have. And I'm sure there's other things on there that aren't necessarily the policy. And also, as far as public comment and some of these policies, some of these policies, in my opinion, need to be revisited by the board in general. So therefore, yes, we have a policy, but maybe the board, especially since now we have a new board, would like to revisit some of these policies and tighten them up a little bit, make them easier to understand.
Yeah, one of the things.
you
that
could
I'm
do
asking-
that in this meeting.
They can,
You can't?
you know.
Because doesn't it say on one of these?
Recommendations from the
Yes.
committee.
You can
You
have
can make
recommendation, but
you're not
the
gonna rewrite
board
policy.
itself
No,
is-
you can recommend
could
the
recommend
changes, and then it goes to the board for
Yeah, I
approval,
mean,
but we
right.
could accomplish that if we want.
Sure, I mean, there's a, I mean, one of the things that I'm asking for the next board meeting is to revisit the bylaws and the trustee manual, because there's things in there that over the last, actually over the last 4.5 years that I went back and looked at meetings that it doesn't matter what's in there, it hasn't been followed thoroughly in this
Well, that would be a time-consuming process, but I
Yeah.
agree we should do it, but right now we've got the union and the budget, so definitely, you know, maybe
I
That's
think,
think
fine.
about it a
There's
little
certain things
later,
that need to be done
you know?
immediate, there's certain things that haven't been followed since before President.
Well, if there are
Trump.
Okay, let's
specific
keep on
items,
track.
you may want
Let's
to.
keep
well,
on
let's
track.
worry about this meeting first.
Okay,
As far
so
as
back
that,
to,
I was going to say, if we are going to address any policies or anything, yes, budgets is coming up, and we have a couple of big things coming up. So I would recommend maybe only handling not just policies for one meeting, but handling maybe one or
Okay,
two,
let's talk about what we're doing tonight.
working it down.
Okay, I
But we
noticed-
need to
I
deal
think
with
I
this
think
now.
we should look at doing, like we like Dave brought up, like some sort of Google Doc
Yep.
where we could all just
Mhm.
input things and learn from it and go with it.
Exactly.
And I think that's the major first step.
Mhm.
It's a nice collaborative way to do it on our own leisure and then collaborate once we get back together. I think picking the next 2 dates out so that people can lock it on their calendars is important. And I think that's the beginning of our marching orders. Like,
Would we want to meet, since we have 18 months, do we want to meet again in a month, or do we want to make it 2 months?
How about 6 months
Or-
to collect all this information?
that would give us time to get through the budget cycle.
But there's a lot
Yeah.
here as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm concerned right now because what is our big thing, the budget cycle? And that's a big deal. And I think,
However, by the time this report's done, we'll probably be going through our second budget cycle.
Well,
it's like,
It's
Because 18
possible,
months,
right.
18 months from now, we would be
but
doing
we
the budget.
don't have to
It'll be
wait
mostly
18
done by then,
months
too.
either. Let's figure a more reasonable time, like say 12 months. This way, we've got plenty of time to turn in everything and we're done and we don't have to worry about it.
When is the budget is in June, July, right?
Yeah, June,
And then levy is,
November,
November.
around,
so,
it's in the fall, like
October.
November, October, November.
so maybe this, and maybe in September?
I
That's
think,
3 months?
I think September would be good, shooting.
And do we want to do this right, like, in a regular board meeting, as part of a regular board meeting, or do we want to have it now?
No, I
Okay.
would
No,
do
if
it.
we're going
Okay.
in after that last meeting, it's 4.5
Gotcha.
hours. I couldn't even imagine sitting at a table again doing this.
Before we pick a date, is everyone
chairs are the
comfortable
most
with that idea of having the community document and
Sure.
everyone inputting into it?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Okay, Roberto?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then let's look at September. What is our regular meeting date that?
I'm
Third
looking-
We
Wednesday, I don't
don't
know.
have that
Doing it?
confirmed yet. We won't have that confirmed until this next board meeting.
Oh, that's right.
If we
Right.
go with
In
the
case
same
you're
schedule,
changing it. Yeah.
Because why was it gonna be changed?
I asked for the July meeting to be changed for the chamber golf outing since it's.
Yeah,
later
but
and
not
stuff.
the September meeting.
No, I just asked for one meeting a year to be changed. The July one.
So September
Maybe it's usually
is,
Wednesdays.
Yes.
the meeting would be the
You'll-
20th
you'll-
of September
So you, what
September.
day
is the regular board meeting.
you would like to have it when?
Who? For July?
You're the one that wants July changed.
That's not what we're talking
It's
about
not what we're
tonight.
not allowed to do,
Okay,
but that's
good.
on, that's on the
We're
next
talking
agenda.
September, okay, fine.
We're looking at a date in
September?
September. Our regular board meeting in September is
Is the
September
tw-
20th. So
20th,
let's pick a
exactly.
different,
Can we do the following week, Becky?
we could do the following Wednesday.
Why don't we do the following Wednesday,
The 27th?
the 27th?
Does that work for everybody?
I don't know. I don't think, if we can't make it, it won't affect anything, right?
Yeah, so we don't have to have everyone at that meeting. We
Mhm.
have to have a quorum of the board. And then I don't know if there's a rule or, how many of the committee members that are residents have to be there, but if the majority of us are there, I think that's
Yeah.
probably
Mhm.
acceptable, so. I know it's hard to know what you're doing 3 months out, but.
Yeah, it is, but not so hard for me, because some of
So
us don't
the
have
reason that you
cars.
need a quorum is because you understand this to be falling under the OMA.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
and that's what it says in
Okay,
paperwork
so then
from
that makes
Ansel
sense,
Blank.
so quorum of the board and whatever committee members can attend.
That's my understanding, yeah,
Yeah, so 4 plus.
right, and Cindy, yes.
Our attendance wouldn't be
Mandatory?
required to have the meeting.
I don't believe so, let's see if there's anything in here that.
And of course, we're gonna try to make it, but if
Right.
if we just miss one.
Watch it.
we can watch it.
The thing is, if we have this Google Doc, stuff that's on there, we can all keep track of what's going on there too, and putting in stuff there, so that should help things.
And there's comment sections, you can add people, I mean, it's
Right.
it's a good way to collaborate. And I think the majority of this information is gonna be input by staff.
Yes,
I mean, if
Yes.
you share this with them and give them the directive that by September 27th, we need 80% of this filled out, the first portion, and then we come back as a committee and start working on pages 9, 10, and 11. 6, 7, and 8 is basically employee input.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in here about how many committee members have to be here, but
I don't think there is any stipulation.
I didn't read one.
No, because when I read
Well,
it, there
why
was
is it,
nothing.
was it bound by OMA?
I'm sorry?
If it's bound by OMA, there has to be requirements.
But not of the resident
But not
committees.
us.
Only
Oh,
Yeah.
of the resident, oh, I'm sorry, I see.
Yeah, for us, we have to have a quorum.
All right. So are we,
But September 27th sounds good, as far as we know at the moment, 7 PM still?
Yes.
Yes?
And then, do
So
we want
then,
to try and schedule another one, or we want to
No.
wait?
why don't we
Wanna
wait and
it?
see?
Yeah, wait till we
Okay.
see how.
Because then, like we
That's
say, October and November is when we're doing levy stuff, and then come your holidays, and, maybe we want our third meeting in January or February, depending on what people say.
Just checking what you guys want to do.
Whatever,
Can I just ask one more question about this list? Closer to the bottom, it says IMRF total compensation postings.
Which page are you on?
Oh, sorry, page 9.
That is on our website, under the FOIA portal.
So it's already posted,
It's posted
okay.
every year.
All right, thanks.
It actually also has our budget and financial documents listed twice.
Yeah, did you see
The
that? Yeah.
third to last and the last.
So does that
item.
mean we're getting away with something or we're missing something?
Both.
That's right.
And those are also on the website.
So the next meeting, so we'll go Google Docs, the next meeting will be on September
September
Yeah.
27th.
27th.
Judy or Dave, do you have any questions?
any concern? So, if the three of you give Cindy your information, so that way when they have it set up, they can send it to you?
So it's not on, we don't have their personal information now.
Right.
No, it shouldn't be, this is personal information, just like our personal emails and stuff, and phone numbers should be posted.
Yeah.
All right,
This
the only
is
other
just
thing
for
that we
signatures.
have to do is this survey of residents and attendance, but we don't have any,
Oh,
so we don't have to do it. I just want to make sure it's on the recording and that people see us asking for input from residents that are not on the committee. We don't have any tonight, so we can skip that part, and then if no one has anything else, we can adjourn.
The only other thing that I would offer is if we want to expand this to have more public members on the committee, to maybe put something out there, like almost like an application process, to let people fill out, why they want to be on it, what their background qualifies them financially and stuff like that. Maybe we get some people in the community who have like a finance background and things like that could really help us with eyes that aren't used to seeing that.
Be careful
be
because we
careful of
didn't
that.
use
You don't
that
have- you don't-
procedure for these 3.
We discussed the members of this committee, we would do the same thing with that application process.
Well, just be careful. You
Yeah.
have to make sure that the impression is that we're treating everybody the same.
Equal.
I,
I mean, I'm okay.
I mean,
Whatever.
I'm not
We
against the
have our
idea,
minimum.
it's the process. Just be careful.
if other people want to apply, that's wonderful. And I'm not saying that I'm against it. It's just, we've already have our minimum plus, because we only need 2, we have 3. So, how big do we want to make this?
No, it's always-
I want
But it's
outside
always
eyes.
good to have
I don't want the
open.
same eyes. looking at it.
Outside eyes are watching our video now too.
How about this?
I understand that.
Because we brought names forward and people are hearing now that it is, I don't want to not be transparent or open or welcoming, right? So if someone who's listening or watching or someone that you know of, you still want to suggest someone.
That's fine.
But as far as putting it on the website, I don't know. I kind of feel like too how many people. But I mean, a few more would be okay, I think, if we
Yeah.
can
it's
go like
just
we did
yeah.
before, so.
So we'll just maybe we'll make some reminders at the meetings and stuff, people, if they're
That's fine.
interested.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good to me.
Are you happy? I agree with you.
Take a
It
motion.
won't happen again.
Would someone like to make a motion
I'd like
to
to make a
adjourn the
motion
movie?
to adjourn
The
the
movie. The movie.
I would,
Second.
okay, Carolyn seconded it. What time
It
is
is 7:35.
Gotta do roll.
it? Do we have to do roll to leave? Yes.
Made a motion.
Okay.
I made a motion.
So, excuse me, I'm waiting, she's writing.
I do have one more question, sorry, Cindy. Today is Tuesday. do you want to just give us a time frame of when we can expect to get that document,
The shared.
the shared one,
The shared document for
or the,
everybody.
yeah, that we can all look at?
Well, it's a drive, it
Yeah.
has to be created,
Yeah,
right?
Google Docs.
So what, maybe by Monday or Tuesday?
Oh, no,
Next
he's
week?
gonna need a few. It
You
takes
think he's gonna need a couple
I
weeks?
will-
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I don't know, let me just talk with Rich.
Talk to him and you can always email us and let us know what he says.
Okay,
Okay.
I know nothing about computers.
well, there's the man now.
All right.
Okay.
You make motion again?
Motion?
Second.
I'm
sorry.
Yep, second.
And,
Carolyn originally seconded it.
It,
so-
now it's 7:36, I don't know if that makes a difference.
Okay, so now we need our roll call again, please.
okay. Trustee Derblick,
Yes.
trustee Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Treasurer Botello.
He
He had to leave.
previously
Oh,
left.
okay. Secretary Rosansky,
Oh, yes.
Vice President Trumpo,
Yes.
President King.
Yes.
Okay. 6-1.
And do you have to ask our committee members? Or- No, they don't count?
They don't
Well,
vote.
they
don't
certainly
vote?
count.
Okay.
Yeah, they vote, they just don't
I
vote
would think
here.
they count, but, you know.
Should mention they're here.
We
Okay.
should mention their names. Did we mention
We did in the beginning, yeah.